In the dark expanse, the company's quota must be met. Today we embark on a journey deep into Lethal Company and the story and the lore behind this seemingly family-friendly game. But behind all the laughs and the funny clips, there's a world of monsters, death, despair, corporate greed, conspiracies, and a weird submarine bomb thing under the map at the company building. We're going to get into it all today, so stick around if you want to find out more about the complete story and lore of Lethal Company. So I think the best way to go about this video is to read each log of Sigurd's story to you all, and then after that we'll just have a little chat and deconstruct each log one by one before right at the end I'll piece it all together and give you my thoughts and my theory on what the story is, what the backstory has been, because it starts in 1968, a year before the moon landing, funnily enough, and then where players play actually takes place 500 years in the future from these logs. So there's been a big gap, there's a lot of missed information, there's information that we can't trust, there's an unreliable narrator in Sigurd, we don't know if he's telling the truth, we don't know if he's going crazy, so yeah, there's a lot to speculate about. You're not going to get 100% accuracy with what I put together, but what we will put together is what we can so far. But before we get into that, I'll just give you a quick breakdown of what Lethal Company is and what you do within the game. So in Lethal Company, you are a scavenger sent out across desolate moons to gather scrap to bring back to the company building. At the company building, you sell that scrap and you sell it at different rates depending on variables unknown. The company you work for demands you meet that quota, and if you don't, I don't want to spoil it for you, just play the game and see what happens. But you must beware on these desolate moons and in all of these different buildings that you venture into, built from people past, there are turrets, landmines, and of course, monsters. Those monsters and those entities, probably the reason for all the landmines and the turrets, but basically you have to navigate these dangerous environments on these dangerous moons, collect as much scrap as you can, and sell it to the company. Why? We're going to get into the why now. So now that that's out of the way, let's dig right in to our very first log from Sigurd. First log, August 22nd, 1968. Hello, I'm writing this log to keep myself sane. I couldn't find a way to do the most basic thing on this old janky butt computer, so I had Desmond add it in, the log feature. Till now I've just been adding my own notes to the bestiary, whatever I know. My brother said I should keep a journal, so I'm doing what I can. I'm writing in a professional manner, as these logs could become a historical record, as they will probably be here for years, just as long as that isn't a clean wipe. That is what Desmond said. If you're reading it in the future, you're probably from another crew. The turnover rate here is enormous. Maybe because the job sucks and everyone turns over dead. Maybe I can give some help when I have some experience. End log. Oh, our names are Sigurd, me, Richard, Desmond, Jess. So right off the bat with the first log, we can tell a lot about this job. Sigurd is not enamoured with it. There's a massive turnover rate, so company-wide retention on employees is not great, and it's because everyone winds up dead. It is a dangerous job, and I'm sure they are getting some danger money, but is it really worth it? Sigurd also starts the vlog off, telling us that this is to keep himself sane, and this is something that his brother actually recommended to him back on Earth. You should keep a journal just to keep track of your thoughts, keep yourself going day in, day out. So obviously this job is so mundane and so mind-numbing that he is starting to feel like he needs something like this in his life to stay on track. Clearly, there's not much purpose, you're just a number carrying out tasks. And for a job that has you visiting moons to these high-tech, almost laboratory kind of facilities, there wasn't much in the terms of high-tech. If you take a look around the ship, if you look at the player's equipment, if you look at the log itself, he had to get Desmond to actually do something with this computer. As Sigurd puts it, it's a butt computer. this isn't exactly a hyper-funded project. This is clearly underfunded, or they're doing it on a budget, and it seems like it's not so good. I find it really funny at the end as well how he ends the log and then goes, oh, sorry, our names are blah blah blah. It seems like, you know, Sigurd, like, he's never done anything like this before. He's trying to write in a professional manner, and he does his best. The spelling's pretty poor if you look at the actual logs in-game or on the wiki. The spelling isn't so good, so I do feel like Sigurd is a bit on the younger side. But he tries his best, and it's just cool that he's trying to be a bit more formal and take these logs quite seriously. As further down the line, we'll see that, yeah, everything kind of goes out the window as his mind slowly unravels. One little thing I want to touch on, I don't want to go too deep in this first log as we've got, you know, like 11 more to get through, but it's the fact that he actually forgets their names. He's just like, oh, it's like an afterthought. And to me, that might be nothing. It might just be the writer, just the way they wrote it, because he's inexperienced doing logs. But to me, it says that he himself as an individual and his crewmates are starting to slowly lose their individuality and who they are as people to this job, as they are just cogs in a machine. I don't know if I'm reading into that way too much, but to me, if they did mean that, that's a really nice touch. Anyway, let's get on to log number 2. Log 2, August 24th, 1968. Smells here. Gosh, this suit is squeezing me like I'm a gosh damn mummy. I'm a grown man. Give it some space between the legs. It's killing me. I'm dying. I hope you're happy, Dad. I finally got a job. Screw you. Everyone here smells, especially Rich. I'm gonna throw him in the lake. Sorry, that bit cracks me up. I don't care what it's made of. I love being on camera duty. Oh, I forgot. The date, it's August 24th, 1968. This keyboard has zzz. Today we found a couple of frying pans and a big nail, worth almost nothing. What is the company even using it for? I honestly just love how much of a petulant man-child Sigurd is here in this one. His personality really starting to shine through. How he's just like, everyone smells. I hate Rich. I'm going to throw him in a lake no matter what is in it. You know, it could be an acidic lake, or it could have some sort of, you know, water beast. And he's just like, I'm going to throw him in because he stinks. Here I really do feel like he's like a teenager, like possibly early teens. I'm sure he's like late teens if he's got a job like this, but we'll get into that later. And once again, this second log just kind of highlights how bad the tech is, as the keyboard like frazzles out on us. And one thing with the suits, the reason they might smell, I've got like a couple reasons. One is, do they just recycle them between employees? Like when an employee's like contract comes to an end, do they just not wash it, pass it on? Or if someone, you know, dies in one of them, do they just remove the deceased and then just pass the suit on to the next intern? That could be another reason. I do have another reason later on about drugs, but we'll get onto that later. Another thing that comes up with this smell is just the employees. Again, I know Sigurd forgot their names, and I talked about how they could just become in numbers within this company, cogs in the machine. Maybe self-care's just went out the window. Maybe they could take a shower somewhere, they're just choosing not to because they're so beat down and depressed. I mean, that happens in our world. This happens today. There's people out there who won't be showering, won't be looking after themselves because they're in some sort of corporate job that they hate, and it's so sad. So if that can happen in our world, it can happen to these people who are working light years away in terrible conditions with awful tech, having to put up with monsters and all sorts of cosmic dangers. Anyway, maybe there's more hope for them in log 3. Swing of things, August 27th, 1968. We got into the swing of things the past few days. That's what Rich keeps saying. He smells like a rancid tuna can. Worst summer camp I've ever been on. Date is August 27th, 1968. We make sure someone always has a shovel for bashing anything that moves, and we always put someone on camera duty so they can open these big security doors with letters and numbers. Ask Desmond the wizard how that works. I think he just types in the code that's on the door. That's it. We sold some goods to the company today at 70% value. I got my nerves chilled listening to some psychotic sounds behind the counter. No one else gave any? Can't ignore that. My flashlight didn't even go back there. The beam just went dark. Okay, so a very interesting log here with a fair bit to unpack. Once again, Sigurd gives us a pretty detailed explanation of what he is smelling, calling it rancid tuna coming from Rich. And if you've ever been in your workplace and someone's put tuna in the microwave, you kind of know where he's coming from, because just times that by 1,000 on top of someone who's not washing themselves. That would be awful. Even though his turmoil is kind of funny, I really do feel for Sigurd and the other members of the crew. But Sigurd does give us a little inclination about how the team actually goes about their runs. You know, they have someone on camera duty, opening doors, stuff like that. They have someone with the shovel, sadly not the stop sign. The stop sign's my favourite weapon. But they have someone with the shovel, and then the other two will probably actually be, you know, transporting the scrap. So they've got the security, they've got their overwatch, and they've got the 2 grunts. It's a pretty good setup, and if you're going into a game of Lethal Company for the first time with your friends, it's probably a tactic that you might want to adopt. And once again, we just get a little bit more about Desmond and how he's the kind of tech guy of the group. But now we need to talk about selling scrap in Lethal Company. So after you have a decent enough haul, you take that scrap back to the company building and sell it. Once you meet your quota, you travel to 71 Gordian, which is the moon of the company building. And Sigurd says that something behind the counter, some sort of noise, really unnerved him, and that no one else seemed to give a toss about it, only him. So he shines his flashlight back there, but it's so dark that it doesn't even reflect off anything, it doesn't show anything, the light just dies out, which is pretty terrifying, like shining your torch into the abyss, and the abyss not shining or doing anything back. That's pretty creepy. And in Lethal Company, it's a pretty perilous task when it comes to selling your scrap. You have to bring it to this little nook in this giant wall and ring the bell once. You place your scrap there, and these big massive tentacle appendages come out and just zoop, take all the scrap in. Now, if you ring that bell too much, those tentacles are going to grab you in as well. This being is called Jeb, and he's meant to be the company's representative. Tentacles that come out of wall are the company's representative. Yeah, I know, we just got to roll with it for now, but we'll get there. But Jeb does have some pet peeves, and one of those peeves is just smashing the shit out of that bell. If you do that too much, he's going to take you along with the scrap. And there's a few other things that you definitely shouldn't do. But let's get on to log number 4. One of my favourites, because it sets up like the biggest mystery of this whole story, and something that I really hope we find out more about in the future, because I feel like it's just going to be super important, and that is the Golden Planet. Date unknown. I talked to a voice in the walkie-talkie. It was like part of the screams. He told me the Golden Planet actually existed. It's not a legend. And he told me it didn't just hit a meteor. He said the planet was swallowed up by the beast, and they are now in its body being digested. I asked what the beast is, and he said he didn't know. He said it ate the planet and they forgot everything. I couldn't get him to stop talking, but I said I was on the other side of the big wall and I could get him out. I said he was inside the building, and then that's when he started freaking out. I couldn't make out a word. I think he said something about spitting out the rings, so I just turned it off. What a whack. Jess says the Golden Planet is just a story. I said I know. I'm not an idiot. Well, she said I should actually quit, and she quits if I do, so she's staying. So, pretty big developments here. This is our first pretty out there log, and a lot to dig into. Lots of questions raised, like, what is the Golden Planet? And what is this beast? And who's this guy talking through the walkie-talkie who seems to be on the other side of the wall in the belly of the beast? What I also wonder is if the company planet, the company building, 71 Gordian, if that was actually the Golden Planet. Maybe this was some sort of paradise planet or somewhere they had all of their facilities. Maybe they were built out of gold or something like that. It was just really abundant for minerals, so they called it the Golden Planet. And then one day it gets hit, slammed by this meteor, but this meteor isn't a meteor. It opens up and it's this eldritch beast that starts consuming everything that it can, and consuming everything, not in the sense of like, you know, organic stuff, like, you know, like us, like mammals, trees, you know, drinking the water and all that kind of stuff, eating all the scrap, all the technology, all the stuff that humans need to keep progressing. Because the guy says it landed and it ate everything and we forgot everything. So did we forget because we didn't have the technology to pass on our knowledge? I mean, look at the burning of Alexandria. Look how much was lost in that, you know? How many years did that send humanity back? Imagine something crashing into Earth and eating all of our technology. We would be ruined, and it would take us a millennia to get back on our feet to back where we are right now. So it's a terrifying thought, and it's an awesome log. So I reckon let's crack on with the other logs. Let's not get into this too much because there is some more I want to say at the end when I piece it all together. On to log 5, Shady. The date is August 31st, 1968. I got camera duty again. I hate walking on this moon anyway. Aha, joke's on them. Just started raining. I'm just sitting. Can't sleep on these tiny beds for ants. I've been thinking a lot. I think this job is shady. If you're reading this, you probably got here the same as me. The pay is good, the contract only lasts a season, they ran you through their assessment examination on the phone with a weird voice, you signed the contract on the shuttle with the rest of your crew, but the whole time you didn't talk to anyone. The shuttle was autopiloted. I think the voice on the phone was fake. I've had the worst dreams. I think I just want to go back home. But I'm not going to go crawl home, crying and scratching on Dad's front door. That's not his son. That's not Sigurd. And I know I called Sigurd a petulant man-child before, but here he just seems like an 18-year-old, like, rebelling, you know? This is obviously like his summer camper. Maybe his mum and dad, like, finally told him, like, you know, get a job for the summer. So he's like, fine, I'm going to travel to the other side of the solar system, collect scrap for an eldritch beast, okay? Like something like that. He just comes across so childish. I mean, I do love him, he's funny, but yeah, it's just funny the way it's written and the way I'm getting to read it. It's quite entertaining. But here we do learn a little bit more about the hiring process for the company, which is super intriguing. You might have come into this quite like me thinking, oh, this is an iron lung situation all over again. They're probably just convicts that are pushed into these crappy, dangerous jobs, and if they die, they die. They don't really mean anything to anyone anyway. They were convicts, whatever. But no, we actually find out that, you know, he was hired, he did go through a screening process, he at least had an interview on the phone because he went through an examination on the phone. But what he does say is that that voice did sound fake, almost like one of those automated scams that you get. So yeah, a little bit dodgy there. If I was talking to a fake voice the whole time and then a shuttle rocked up at my house and told me to sign a contract, would have been a little bit hesitant, possibly asked Dad. But Sigurd seems to have just gone for it. And we do get a little look into, you know, shuttle life with these tiny beds with ants in it. Obviously they keep the doors up when they land on these planets for like a quick extraction. So you've probably got all manner of wildlife and insects and all sorts of stuff just crawling in. You should probably close the doors more, the more that I think about it. But yeah, they're living a pretty crappy, pretty cramped, stinky life on this shuttle, and things are just all round pretty rough. What's interesting is that the contract is only supposed to last a season, so yeah, you might die, but there is a way out of this, or at least there should be. You just have to survive to see it. So yeah, another great log, but let's move on to the sixth one. Log number 6, Sound Behind the Wall. September 4th, 1968. I got woken up early this morning because we were going to the company building to sell our useless garbage. The rate was 120%, which Desmond says is rare and he didn't want to miss it. He's been watching it like the stupid stocks. It still sucks here. Rich still smells like a piece of shit. I can barely sleep. I heard the worst sound behind the wall of the company building. It sounded like crying red faces, all churned up and swept away by concrete. Like pesto and bowl my mum crushes up her seeds and spices in. I still hear it. It's a nightmare. No one else heard it. They don't know what to do. Jess thinks I'm homesick. No, I'm sick of this cheap suit. So here we see that they're selling the scrap for a much better rate than the 70%. Good on you, Desmond, for keeping an eye on those stocks and knowing where to sell high, buy low. My man's got it. Please don't listen to me when it comes to stocks. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I've never done anything financially like that. What makes these rates fluctuate is still a mystery. I do have a theory though, but it's something you always have to keep an eye on. We'll also get into my theory on the fluctuation of rates later. Sigurd once again only continues to blame Rich for the smell. They must all be smelling by now, but Rich is really getting the brunt of it. But the most intriguing thing here is Sigurd's dreams. You know, he's actually seeing what those sounds are behind the wall now, and these dreams are probably more like visions. You know, this is something that could lay ahead for him and his crew, or he's having dreams of past crews, and there's some sort of neural link going on there, and that's why he's hearing them scream, and that's why he's seeing them in his dreams. And what I imagine is kind of like Nope. If you've seen Nope, when the people are taken up into the ship, something very similar to that. I don't believe that this creature is actually consuming them and want to consume them. I think it's consuming the scrap, and the people who are stuck in there are just kind of collateral damage. Imagine being in like a big waste vacuum thing, getting spun about with all this metal and scrap. Oh, what a horrible way to go. It would be pretty rough, and it would be a lot like Sigurd's explanation and how he detailed it within his dream. Because to me, I feel like Jeb just wouldn't want to eat things like humans. Jeb wants scrap. It's just like a garbage disposal. And maybe, you know, those funky noises that you hear in game sometimes from Jeb, or maybe when someone goes down the wrong way, maybe he eats a human that he didn't want to eat, he just wants scrap. So that's why you hear those kind of weird gargling noises from behind the wall sometimes in game. Just a thought, just a theory. Either way, it's very troubling for Sigurd and his crew. You know, they seem okay for now, and he's having these creepy dreams. He's starting to go a little bit cuckoo, at least to all of them. That's the way they see it. As we know, Sigurd is actually experiencing something that is actually going on. Now, vlog number 7, goodbye. September 7th. We left Rich. We just had one room to check, and then we could be done for the day. I couldn't get the door open, and then I looked, and Rich wasn't there. It was the wrinkly skin flower-head man that walks on 2 legs. It turned his neck. I heard the crack, but he wasn't there. I wanted to find Rich, even if he was dead, but they are cowards. Their faces are blank like idiots. There's nothing moving in their stupid skulls. All they wanted to do is leave. They were going to leave me too. We all hated Rich, but we didn't want this. This isn't worth it. It's just not worth it. We got a pair of scissors, a box full of stamps, and a bundle of cords to sell for nothing. It's not worth it. What does the company even want it for? The date we last saw Rich is September 7th, 1968. So, a very bleak entry, this one. Rich is dead. Rich was taken by one of the entities, and by Sigurd's description to me, it sounds like it was a bracken. If you haven't played the game, brackens look like this, and basically what they'll do is, you know, you can't stare at them for too long. It's the kind of whole Slender Man thing again, like you've got to kind of look but not look directly at it. If you directly look at it for too long, it's going to come for you, and if it gets real close to you, basically what it's going to do is snap your neck, grab you, and run away with your body. They will tolerate a fleeting glance, but stare too long, and you will end up the same way Rich did. So to me, I know we've been having a little bit of a laugh so far. Sigurd sounds like he's maybe a teenage kid on a summer job, and up until now it's been funny, maybe poking fun at him, you know, he's been acting like a bit of a kid and stuff like that, but he's witnessed someone die now. That's pretty huge, especially if he's a young, you know, teenage kid, and he actually did want to get Rich's body, you know, and that's pretty admirable. This is where I actually start to really like Sigurd, because, you know, he's not a coward. You know, Jess and Desmond, they were just keen to get on out of there, but he wanted to actually find Rich, and, you know, you've got to appreciate that, and, you know, give my boy Sigurd some respect for that one. And the sad thing is that a bracken will drag someone's body so far and then just discard it. And if you follow the blood trail, you will find it. So if they gave Sigurd time, he could have got Rich's body, they could have got their comrade's body, took it home, sent it off to the family. I don't know what they would do with it. Recycle the suit for another intern? Who knows? But hey, it might have made Sigurd feel a bit better, and this has got to be pretty rough on the kid. Brackens are also just one of the fearsome entities that you face in Lethal Company. If you want to watch more about entities in Lethal Company, maybe I'll do another video on them separately. But yeah, we'll just get into the Bracken and Jeb for today, because we could be here all day. But yeah, you've got to watch your back when you're out there on those moons. Right at the end as well of this log, it's a little bit heartbreaking the way Sigurd just starts questioning, is this worth it? Because we've all had that moment at work, when you're sitting there, you're doing your job, you're maybe just in your zone, and then you just suddenly become conscious and you're like, I could be doing so much more right now. Does this matter? Like, in 5 years, will this moment and what I'm doing in it matter? Does this tiny little thing that affects this other little thing that affects this little thing actually matter? And it probably does. The company probably needs to see some ROI on something, and whatever you're doing is, contributing to that. But in the moment, it can feel like, this is literally pointless. And for, Sigurd right now in his situation, he might be feeding an eldritch beast to keep it satiated so it doesn't destroy humanity. So it's not really pointless, but to him in this moment, it feels pretty pointless. And yeah, that's a pretty heartbreaking revelation to see this kid go through. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah, I feel pretty bad for the kid right now. Now let's move on to log number 8, screams. For some reason, I was the one who had to call the company number to report the accident. They were too scared to do it. It was the same fake voice I remember from the interview on the phone at home and the stupid training videos. But it heard what I said, I think. Because it said they would contact the family and find a replacement and something else. It talked so fast. I learned you can hear the screams all the time in the walkie-talkie when you're at the wall of the company building. They didn't believe me. Well, now they do. It sounds just like what I heard a couple of weeks ago. They want to quit. I said I'm not a coward. I just got this job. So Sigurd once again showing he's got a bit about him. He's got a bit of bite. He's definitely not a coward. He wants to stick this thing out no matter what he's seen or heard. He's been having these horrible dreams. He's been hearing these horrible screams. And, he was there when Rich was killed by a bracken. But good on him for wanting to stick his contract out and see this thing through. Once again, the fake voice comes up again, and he also mentions that there was some training videos. I'd love to see those training videos if we could get them on like a Lethal Company YouTube channel or something like that, or maybe if they drop in game, if it's something we can watch with, future updates, that would be awesome, done in like the kind of analog horror style. That would just be so cool. I want to see those videos. Desmond and Jess also say, they just want to quit now. Sigurd doesn't, but Sigurd isn't forcing them to stay here. They keep mentioning they want to quit, but they don't actually quit. So to me, it seems like there just isn't a way to quit. You have to see your contract out. You have to wait until your contract ends, if it ever really does end. And then again, Sigurd talks about the screams. He's found a way to always hear the screams, and he proves it to Desmond and Jess by putting the walkie on the big wall at the company building on 71 Gordian, and they can hear the screams of the people trapped inside Jeb. And he's kind of proved it to them that, I'm not just having dreams and hallucinations. This is happening. And they seem to believe him now. I wonder if Jess thinks he's still homesick. Log 9. Idea. The past weekend, it feels like Desmond and Jess woke up. We're supposed to get our 4th member of the crew in a few days. We aren't taking risks anymore. We don't get as much, but it feels safer. And I've gotten better sleep. But it's still ass. I can still smell Rich. I swear to gosh, he smelled that bad. Okay, so we're back on pounding Rich, R.I.P. I was talking about how the voice on the phone sounded fake. Then Desmond got this weird idea. He's the wizard and all, so he thinks there's a way to use the phone call I made to the company number to find out where the voices come from. I don't know why he'd want to do that, but but he seems serious. He's been using the terminal a lot. So we learn a fourth member and a new intern is well on their way to this lovely, high-paying, adventurous job. Whoop whoop. But they've been taking it easy on their runs, you know, playing it safe, getting a little bit of scrap here or there, not taking as many risks as they used to, probably barely meeting quota. They're probably, you know, playing it pretty dangerously. You know, they are playing it safe in terms of how they collect scrap, but, you know, if they don't meet that quota, ooh, it's not looking good. Sigurd also tells us that Desmond is, you know, the tech wizard once again, and Desmond has now got an idea to put a plan into action where he's going to figure out where the voice on the phone is coming from. So let's get into log 10, nonsense. September 27th, 1968. Desmond wants me to write down what we figured out and keep my nonsense to a minimum. So I'm going to put so much of my nonsense, screw him, the new crew member is named Lucas, and he is so confused and scared all the time. What a baby. At least he doesn't smell like a monster. It's been so sunny even though it's September, and these suits don't take it well. Pause. Okay, it's been so sunny even though it's September. We're on different moons. Is he saying that, you know, all the seasons are the same from Earth to all these different moons? Or is he just being a little bit cuckoo here? And, like, you know, September could be summer on this planet. You know, it's summer in Australia right now, but everywhere else it's winter. So, you know, that's a weird line for me. It's one that I'm not sure if we should dig into deeper, but it's just one to keep in the back of your head. Back to the log. Okay, so Desmond traced the call, and I found out there's a group of people somewhere else that pretends to call us from the company building. They're across the whole solar system. Why would they be so far away? Desmond says he doesn't know, but I think, what if there really is a big monster in the company building like the voice told me on the walkie-talkie? They trapped it, and we feed it to keep it tame. I just wanted a stupid job. Okay, so this log kind of goes from nothing to something real quick. Sigurd is acting out like a kid again as things begin to unravel, as you would. I think it's justified here. And we learn that the new team member Lucas is pretty useless. So Desmond did trace that call like he said he was going to do, good old Des, but it isn't in the company building that the calls come from. No one from this company is in this company building. These calls are coming from the other side of the solar system. So they've got their employees shoveling scrap into Jeb behind this massive prison-like wall while they sit on the other side of the solar system dishing out commands. Obviously, whatever is in this company building is so dangerous that the company themselves have gotten as far away from it as they possibly can. Sigurd mentions that, you know, they're feeding it scrap just to keep it tame. So I do really think that Jeb was the thing that ate the golden planet. Gordian could be the golden planet. The people from that golden planet have moved far away, maybe all the way back to Earth. Maybe it's Earth that's on the other side of the solar system, and they're just replaying these automated messages back to their employees as they carry out their meaningless job. That isn't really meaningless because they're keeping Jeb happy, but still, it's a rough gig. Either way, the monster in the company building now seems pretty legit. Log 11, hiding. I keep having bad dreams about the company building, where the company breaks out of that giant concrete wall, but I don't know if it looks like anything. I just think it's really big and fast. We can't figure out a way to know if the voices on the phone are real. Desmond says it's too far away. I asked him if he could take control of the autopilot, and he said I'm crazy and that could kill us. Yes, I'm crazy, Desmond. He says we would have to get our own private flight to go to the coordinates, and who knows what would actually be there. So what if it's nothing? I started wondering how I can't remember how we really got here. No, I just remember little things like the shuttle flight to the building where we signed our contracts. But I don't remember getting on the shuttle. I don't even remember saying bye to Dad. In my dreams it feels like the company isn't trapped in there at all. It's just hiding. I don't know if I'm going home. Okay, so things are looking pretty bad at best here, like pretty bad. Sigurd mentions that the bad dreams have returned and that he doesn't even remember saying goodbye to his dad, and also remember that he previously mentioned signing his contract on the shuttle. Now he says that the shuttle took him to the company building and he signed his contract there. So that is completely changed, and we now learn that Sigurd is an unreliable narrator, not through any fault of his own, but through his own mind being tampered with, either by, just the monotony of this job, time passing, or the company doing something to him. He isn't recalling things the way they happened, and he's got all these different versions of events in his head. So now we can't really take anything Sigurd says at face value, although when it does come to the monster behind the company building and everything, Desmond and Jess have now heard the screams. They see Jeb taking the scrap. That happens, that's there. But anything that's kind of recollected from the past, that's up in the air. We don't know if that's truth or if that's company fed lies through brainwashing or drugs or anything like that. What I also notice here is that he refers to the beast, Jeb, behind that big company wall as the company, as if the monster is the company itself, because he says if the company ever breaks free, he just knows that it's really big and really fast. So obviously he's not talking about the company there, he's talking about the monster. But he is calling the monster the company, which is really, really interesting. Like, is he just saying that this company he's working for is a monster and he's just being a bit literal like that? Or is his mind just completely warped and he's just getting everything confused? But now let's move on to our final log. Desmond, October 3rd, 1968. I'm encrypting these logs to keep them hidden as I fear the system will be wiped if they are found. It's all a guise. We're supposed to think it's all just a transaction, but our real job is keeping an incredible terror fed. How long until its fullness ends and its hunger is insatiable? God knows, maybe it has to do with all these desolate moons. Whoever reads this, I'm sorry to burden you with this. Please have a good day and night, as what else is there for us to do? Wow. What a way to end it. And I also wonder why this log is Desmond and not Sigurd. We can tell from the way it's typed and the way he's speaking that it's Desmond doing it. I mean, he even says his name at the start, and obviously it would be Desmond who knows how to encrypt these files so they don't get wiped. Either, Jess and Sigurd, have been brackened, or they might just be in no condition to actually log what is happening. But we do get a definite answer that, this job is purely to feed this monster, to stop it from breaking out, and to stop it just eating our universe. It's a bleak and depressing end, and all we're told we can do is just enjoy our night. Any, future workers, just try and enjoy it, I guess, if you can take any joy from it. But, it's very, very sad the way he's just like, this is it. There's nothing we can do. They really are backed into a corner and you just have to keep working. And I take it your contract never ends. Your contract ends when you pass away, or it ends when you don't meet your quota. Desmond also alludes to the fact of these desolate moons maybe being desolate because of the beast. So maybe the beast did go on a bit of a spree before it got to the Golden Planet, or before it became entombed on 71 Gordian. But those facilities that are on these desolate moons, I feel like they would have been taken as well if the beast had gotten to them. But just something to think about. And also, I do want to get back onto rates, because I told you guys I had a theory about this. The rates, when they're at like 120%, I feel like this is when Jeb is at his hungriest and is closest to breaking out of that company building to just consume all and go back on a consume spree. So that's like when the company are desperate. They're like, we'll give you real good rates if you bring the scrap, like now to the company building, bring it now, 120% now. But when they're like at 70%, they're just like, yeah, he's pretty well fed, he's pretty full, he's satisfied right now, his tummy's not grumbling, he's not making any weird noises. So we'll give you 70%. You can hang on to the scrap for now for a rainy day if you want. Just keep on meeting your quota, eh? So yeah, that's what I feel like the rates are for. That's my theory on them anyway. If you've got one into why rates changed, then please leave it in the comments section down below. I'd love to read it. But there are also a couple more things you can find in-game that aren't these logs that actually do give us a little bit more about the story and possible future story beats. If you travel to the company building and find your way down a couple decks, you'll find this thing that does look like an iron lung. It looks like a submarine itself, or is it in fact a bomb? Because it looks like you can put 2 batteries in it to get it going. As there is spray paint across it, it says "Don't Tell" and battery. So obviously we need to power it up for something. Right now you can't do anything with it, nothing happens, but this could be something that comes into play once Lethal Company comes out of beta into full release. And this could be our next step in the story, with someone, you know, trying to bomb the beast, trying to bomb Jed and kill it for good. And is that, you know, the end game of Lethal Company? Who knows, but it's very exciting to speculate about. Now, if you are asking me personally how the story and backstory and lore of Lethal Company goes, I reckon it's something like this. Bear with me. I believe that humanity stretched out to the stars, building facilities on all of these moons, but eventually got in too deep and had to abandon them due to the fauna and the dangers they provided. And out of all these cosmic threats, the one big cosmic threat appeared, and its name was Jeb. Jeb, also known as the Beast, crashed into the golden planet and consumed everything on it. This golden planet is the company HQ. It is 71 Gordian, and there was heaps of scrap, heaps of other stuff that Jeb could consume. And while Jeb was consuming, the company built a wall around him to contain him. And the company, growing out of fear, thinking about what Jeb might do next once Jeb gets hungry again, employed people to feed him. They needed scavengers, they needed people to clean up these facilities, strip them of everything. If you're shaking, it's because my dog's moving the camera. And basically, they've just got slaves now feeding Jeb so that he doesn't eat our universe, including us and Earth. And it's these employees, you know, at Lethal Company who are keeping Jeb satiated and keeping Jeb in place. But in the current time, as a player, it's a few hundred years in the future. You don't hear from anyone from the company, just that voice, the same voice Sigurd mentioned, and you don't hear anything about Sigurd or anything like that after his logs. It seems like everything has been run down, super run down. I know it sounded low tech before, but now it's a lot more run down, and it just seems like all the processes have become automated. It's like the workers are just going off old processes that have kind of been programmed into them, either working forever, their season never coming to an end, or coming to an end as they are killed by entities. Now, the process of getting new recruits eludes me a little bit, but I do feel like the ship abducts people, and I feel like that's a fully automated process as well. Like, this ship will just pick people up and pluck them from wherever they need to fill these roles, to fill these opportunities within the company. As Desmond says, they can't control the ship, it will kill them if they try. And maybe this ship sprays out some sort of drug, some sort of gas, maybe it lets something out in their suits, and that's why it smells so bad, to mess with their memory, to make them think they've signed a contract and agreed to be here, when in actuality, no, they're not. Sigurd didn't remember saying bye to his dad. He remembered his brother saying, you know, keep a journal, but that could have been keep a journal for anything. It might not have been a job. It could have just been, dude, you should keep a journal, it's good for your mental health. So I really do feel like they are abducted, they're kidnapped from their families. And maybe the reason, you know, on Earth when we get, you know, random missing person cases with no explanation, in this Lethal Company universe is people being abducted. Could be something just like that. And that is a terrifying thought. And maybe that reason that phone line is way on the other side of the universe is because that's where Earth is. or that is where they're running their AI automated message process from. Maybe there's nothing left on Earth, and these ships are just plucking people from the wastelands, just plucking anyone they can to run through those old processes and use everyone up to keep Jeb fed. And for Jeb's happy. He's happy chilling as long as he's fed. But when these ships can't find any more people, everyone's been used up, and no more scrap can be given to Jeb is going to break out, and Jeb is going to consume everything. Either way, I believe an underfunded or deceased company. Either way, I believe that an underfunded or deceased company running off previous processes is abducting people and using them to keep an eldritch horror happy so that it doesn't consume everything in the universe that humanity needs to survive. Which is crazy when you say it out loud, like that sounded psycho. To think that this is the same game, this story comes from the same game that we're watching people like Moist Critical, Wendigoon, Papa Meat, Vanos, all these people play, have a laugh. You've seen it yourself, you played it with your friends yourself, you've seen all these funny shorts and clips. This is a funny game, it's a good game to play with friends, the proximity chat is amazing and it keeps it hilarious. But to think that this story is behind all that is bloody awesome, right? If you agree, hit the like button. Hopefully soon we learn more. Maybe we'll learn more when the game finally releases properly, or we get updates along the way, and the story will actually be fleshed out further, and we'll get a big conclusion. We'll maybe find out what that thing is on the company planet. Is it a bomb? Is it a submarine? What's going on there? And we'll see what comes of this universe and learn more about its mysteries. But to be honest with you, if it was to end today and that was it, this is all the story we get, I'm totally happy with that. I'm super fine with that. We can go off propaganda posters in game to find out more and things like that. The way I feel like it is right now is it reminds me a lot of the old Call of Duty Zombies maps where it was all kind of environmental storytelling and you'd get the odd audio log and stuff like that, but it was all out of sync and some people were lying and you had to piece it all together. Watching people like Mr. Raffle Waffles put the story together, that stuff was amazing. And if they do continue the story in Lethal Company, I want them to continue it like this. But as I said, if it ends this way, happy days. I'm chill with that. But please, in the comments, let me know if I missed anything out. I'm sure I have. I'm sure there's more secrets out there still to be found. So if you find any, please let us all know in the comments. If you could like and share this video, it would mean the world to me. I appreciate you all, and thank you very, very much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.